Superman and Lois. Elizabeth Tulloch has addressed one dream episode idea she wanted to happen in the DC show before it ended, and I wish it had cropped up in the series before its conclusion. Across the course of 3 years, Superman and Lois ran for 4 seasons, and fit a whole lot of story into its overarching narrative during this time. With that said, there were still a lot of storylines that could have been expanded on had the live-action Superman show continued for longer. Many unused ideas for further chapters of the series have emerged in the time that followed the Superman and Lois Season 4 finale, including plans to use DC villains like Brainiac and Darkseid in later seasons of the story. However, Lois Lane actor Elizabeth Tulloch mentioning one idea for an episode she had hoped could take place also raises another idea that I wish we could have gotten to see on screen in some capacity. Superman and Lois show star Elizabeth Tulloch has explained an episode dream that didn't come to fruition in the series. In an interview with Screen Rant's Joe Deckelmeyer at the Being Superman with the cast of Superman and Lois Fan Expo Philadelphia panel, Superman and Lois stars Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch went into their experiences starring in the show, and also on what could have happened in its run. During this, Tulloch mentioned that, "I wanted an episode, which I feel like we would have done if we had gotten the 7 or 8 seasons that we were told we were gonna do, where Lois had powers." Expanding on the matter, the DC show Lois actor explained that, "Then I could do my little flying thing. I'd like to get on the wires and fly just once." Superman and Lois Man of Steel seconded the idea, with Tyler Hoechlin responding by stating that, "I would have given anything to see that episode. This premise would have made a lot of sense for Superman and Lois, since it centered more on the family and their shared adventures, and since the series had already previously shown non-metahumans getting enhanced powers through storylines like the X-Kryptonite arc in Season 2. Why giving Lois Lane powers would have been perfect for Superman and Lois. Superman and Lois makes sure to focus on Lois Lane's life and arc, and underline that she is far more than just Clark Kent's love interest, with her integrity, temerity, and steadfast ability to totally commit to what she thinks is right being some of the fundamental cornerstones of the show. While Lois is involved in her fair share of action scenes, these often required her to be saved by Superman, so it would have been fascinating to get to see how things would have gone for a Lois with her own powers, even just temporarily. Similarly, given so much of the story revolves around Clark and Lois connecting with their sons and the family's attempts to understand one another's perspective, Lois having some personal experience with what having superpowers feels and can be like would have potentially added extra dimension to the plot. This could have enabled her to understand Jordan's struggles with his powers and keeping them secret from everyone, and still helped her connect with Jonathan before his proper powers emerged in Season 4 by getting a taste of how taking X-Kryptonite must have felt for him. Lois having powers for an episode would have also offered up some interesting potential for the titular duo's shared storyline themselves, as it's likely Clark would have been equal parts delighted to get to share the experience of being able to fly with Lois, but also concerned about the dangers of her flying, since he ensures both of his sons go through training with this specific power. As such, the potential for this to be a source of conflict but also a source of shared excitement and wonder really does seem like it could have been perfect for Superman and Lois. As Tulloch mentions, this type of episode seems like it would have been viable for a version of Superman and Lois that had a longer run than the 4 seasons that came to fruition, as this shorter length of the series meant there was less time for episodes that weren't directly related to the plot, and that ideas that were potentially saved for prospective future seasons didn't come to pass. That said, the fact this story never happened on screen is even more of a shame given it seems like it could have fit into some other Superman and Lois plotlines. Superman and Lois just missed out on several opportunities to give Lois powers. As mentioned previously, the X-Kryptonite drug storyline in Superman and Lois did offer a prospective way for the DC show to explore the idea of Lois Lane gaining the ability to fly. While it would have been very out of character for Lois to simply decide to take the substance for her own benefit, it's easy to imagine a scenario wherein Lois' children or husband were in danger, and Lois felt gaining powers was the only way she could save them. This could have also enhanced this chapter of Jonathan's story, since it would serve as a wake-up call of sorts for him since he took X-Kryptonite to keep his place in his football team, and since it's likely Lois would have only taken it once to temporarily have powers to save others before rejecting the opportunity to have superhuman abilities like flight. Not only would this have provided an interesting parallel in the show, it also could have underlined Lois' own specific brand of resilience and strength, and reinforced the idea that she doesn't need powers to demonstrate these traits. Otherwise, the Superman and Lois storyline exploring the alternate universe versions of the family in Season 2 could have potentially also delved into this idea. In the alternate universe Bizarro world, Jonathan gets his powers earlier while Jordan doesn't, reversing the main universe's story, so it doesn't seem impossible for this storyline to have also allowed Lois to have powers, particularly since there are so many comic examples of this scenario to draw from. As it stands, though, this story idea is set to remain a fascinating example of what could have happened in Superman and Lois run.